Do you want to wake up feeling like you're stepping into who you're meant to be, into the best possible version of you? What if I told you that the key to your best life, health, and happiness are all around you? You just have to find what works for you. I'm Hopeful and I believe that there isn't just one way to live a healthy and meaningful life, and that all you need is a little inspiration to make changes that last from the inside out. Each week, I'll be sharing tangible tips and inspirational interviews to help you on your journey. These are the steps to take to improve your life and live with purpose. This is Hopeful and Wholesome. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Hopeful and Wholesome and another episode in our Getting Ready for 2025 series. I'm your host, Hope Pedraza, and today we're diving into a topic that is going to help you give your kitchen a little 2024 end of year cleanup, hopefully. So I know we've had guests come on and talk about potential toxins and, the harms of those, but I'm going to give you kind of a step-by-step and more tangible action steps you can take at the end of this year, getting ready for 2025, to help you get rid of potential toxins from the cookware that you use to the packaging your food comes in. Your kitchen actually can be a really surprising source of exposure to heavy metals, endocrine disruptors, and other harmful substances that can lead to hormonal disruptions and worst case cancer. A lot of these are linked to cancer in studies. So today in this episode, we're going to cover the common toxins that are hiding in your cookware, your utensils, your food packaging, simple swaps that you can make today for a healthier kitchen, and then the ways that these toxins might be impacting your body and overall health. Because I always like to give you the why rather than just telling you what I think you could do to make yourself healthy, right? The why is important. So this is one of those episodes that might feel a little eye-opening and you might feel called out, but I promise it's not about overwhelm or like fear-mongering or anything like that. It's really about empowerment, right? So yes, I'm going to give you some facts about specific toxins and the things that they're linked to, but I don't want this to be like a fear-mongering, like, oh, we're all going to die because we're eating it, right? It's really just about empowerment. You know the information, and now you can potentially do something about it. And you can do, and this is really one of those pretty inexpensive ways, in my opinion, to really focus on limiting your toxic exposure. And this is one of the things that's really most crucial for my clients when I'm working with them and helping with their chronic symptoms. Toxic exposure is such a huge component of the symptoms that you're dealing with, right? I mean, it's impossible to get rid of our exposure to every toxin. Like you get exposed to stuff just walking out your front door every day, right? Let's be honest. But it's about limiting your toxic exposure. And I think your kitchen is such an easy place because the things that you can swap are not really like, and I say that because a lot of times I have clients with resistance on, swapping out cleaning supplies or like cosmetics and stuff, because now I will say this, not all the time, and especially now there are more inexpensive options, but a lot of the times some of the cleaner things can be on the pricier side or more expensive than the conventional, stuff, brands, whatever. But in this case here, we're going to talk about some ways to switch. And it's really, I found this is just these are just such simple switches. I had a hard time getting that one off my tongue. But let's jump in to where toxins might actually be lurking in your kitchen. And then I'm going to give you some really easy swaps. So first, looking at non-stick cookware and specifically Teflon, right? That's what we're looking at. And you've probably seen this before. I know all of y'all are very well aware of where toxins come from if you're listening to this podcast, but it's worth mentioning because a lot of us still, like I know my husband is hardcore about the non-stick pans when he's making eggs, and I'm like, no. So I know a lot of us still have those in our homes, and it's just important to understand what is happening with those, the materials that those are made with. So nonstick pans contain chemicals like perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, right? You've probably heard of PFOAs before. It's the easier way to say that. And this can release toxic fumes when it's heated. And that's the danger in this. So the chemicals in this, the PFOAs, have been linked to hormone disruption, liver damage, and even cancer. So if you've ever seen a scratched up nonstick pan, like those flakes can end up in your food. Like this is where it gets dangerous. And so if you are using a nonstick pan, the minute you see any damage or scratches to the bottom, it's time to dump that thing. Like just get rid of it. Switch to something else. Or, just be mindful of when it's time to replace that. So the second place, let's look at plastic food storage and packaging. So a lot of these plastics contain BPAs or BPSs, which are very well-known endocrine disruptors, especially BPA. This is what we talk about the most. And these chemicals can leach into your food, especially when the plastics are reheated or hot stuff is put inside of them. Now, the good news is with that today there are a lot of BPA-free like containers that you can find that are made of different materials that just don't contain BPA. So the other thing is just being mindful of like microwaving leftovers in plastic containers or putting hot food in plastic containers or storing acidic things like tomato sauce, especially in plastic. This really is a recipe for like this leaching out, like the chemical leaching out into your food. And I see this a lot. So there's a test that I run on my clients called the organic acids test. And it's not just the organic acid, it's the OAT and it's the environmental toxin lab. And it's a really comprehensive lab. And I don't run it on all my clients, but those who want like a really comprehensive look at like, what is in my body? What is going on? This is a really good one. And BPA, this is one of those that shows up so often because we're exposed to it so much, like really. And really and truly, when this shows up really elevated on the lab of my clients, every single time, and I can say this matter of factly, every single time they are having multiple things going on. It's hormonal things, it's thyroid things, it's energy things. Now, I'm not saying this is the cause, right? There's a difference between causation and correlation. I'm very well aware of that, and I want to make sure that's clear. But I will say that it is when I have that trifecta of things happening in a client, it is always elevated on that lab. So I'm saying this because just to show you, I've seen the effects that the BPA can have. Now, one thing I do want to mention, this is kind of veering off topic, but I think it's important to say right here. The best way to get rid of BPA in the body is through sweat. So this is why I always encourage my clients, and if their adrenals in their body is in the right place, things like getting into the sauna or the infrared sauna. Like sweating in a workout is great, but like a really good hardcore sweat in the sauna or the infrared sauna is such a great way to detox the body. And that's really how BPAs leave the body best. So just keeping that in mind. If you're doing that on a regular basis, then you're doing a really great job detoxing that. So moving on. The next one I want to talk about is aluminum, and talking about aluminum cookware and aluminum foil. Now, this one is also very common, and this is one that I see on the HTMA when I'm doing the testing. This is one that shows up in the heavy metal when it's looking at heavy metals. So aluminum can leach into your food, especially when cooking acidic things, again, like tomato-based things, tomato-based sauces, or tomato-based dishes. Long-term exposure has been linked to neurotoxicity and to Alzheimer's disease. And I think that's the biggest one for me. There's so much research out there now that links aluminum in the brain to Alzheimer's disease. This is a well-known thing now. So instead of using aluminum foil for baking, wrapping things like fish or veggies in something else, like using sorry, I'm losing my thoughts. Like not a nonstick pan. I was going to say an alternative to a nonstick pans, or using like parchment paper, right? Putting that in the oven. And especially if you're using nonstick pans, a good way to kind of put a barrier between the nonstick pan and your food is getting parchment paper or cooking it in glass, like right, glass containers or glass dish, something like that. But just not putting that in the oven, because that's really what happens. It's the heating, right? The heating can lead to really significant leaching into your food. So avoid using aluminum cookware, especially aluminum foil. That really can be a huge source of our exposure to aluminum. And since I mentioned this in the last one I was talking about, the best way to get rid of aluminum from the body is silica, specifically silica, which is a mineral. This helps your body detox. So you can take it in like a supplement form, or you can also find it in specific mineral water. Fiji water I know that's very specific, but Fiji water is one of those that has really good levels of silica naturally in the water.
You can find other waters that like they've added it, or it's like, from a place that it's got to be from like a natural source that's just naturally high in silica. If you go back, I had an interview about Aquine water, and that's another one that you can look up. And he talks all about the silica in the water and why. And it's from this like crazy magical spring that's up in Idaho. So it has to be a specific source or it's been added to the water. But silica is the best way to help your body detox from aluminum. Okay, and sweating helps too. Sweating helps with all heavy metals, but the silica is a well-known studied mineral that helps with aluminum. Okay, moving on. Canned foods is the fourth one I want to talk about. A lot of cans are aligned with BPA, which we've already talked about, and even BPA free cans can contain similar chemicals like BPS, which is just kind of another version of BPA, which can still pose risks. So if you can avoid buying canned food, that would be best, right? So if you can buy things that like a lot of times they sell them now in like those little like cartons, like the little like cardboard cartons, or in the little bags or in glass, right? Those are going to be best. So like the organic soups and beans still could be exposing you to harmful chemicals if you're buying them in cans, especially if they don't say BPA free. And again, even if they do say BPA free, there's still a chance. Now, if you're going to buy canned, if you have to like choose between, okay, what am I buying canned and what am I not buying canned? Like I've mentioned acidic things here more than once. Acidic things like tomatoes, think like tomato paste, tomato sauce, tomato, like crushed tomatoes, all the tomato things. They're super acidic, and especially those that you have a higher chance of getting that BPA leached out into your food. So if you have to buy the tomato-based things, look for like the tomato sauce in the jar, right? In a glass jar or in the little cardboard container thingy, right? Finding another way to purchase those. Okay, number 5 is kitchen utensils and bakeware. So silicone bakeware and plastic utensils might seem like a better option, right? You're like, oh, I'm not using the aluminum ones, but the cheaper versions can often contain fillers or microplastics that can still release toxins when exposed to high heat. So you want to look for versions like clean, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a second. Some what to look for. So we want to be mindful of that. So let me speaking of that, let's just go right into what to do, like these really practical swaps that you can make. And remember, you don't have to replace everything overnight. Like you don't have to, I mean, unless you want to, more power to you. If you're like, screw this, 2025 is the year, like I'm switching it all out, then do it. But the small changes can add up over time, just like anything else. So just take all this with a grain of salt, decide where you want to start. And if you want to just go for it and like scratch the whole thing, let me start over, then here you go. I'm going to give it all to you. So first, let's talk about the nonstick pans for cast iron or stainless steel. Swapping nonstick pans for cast iron or stainless steel. So cast iron and stainless steel are going to be the two safest materials for you to use. Cast iron is naturally nonstick when it's seasoned properly. And if you don't know how to season a cast iron skillet, if you are not from the South and you don't know what that means, I don't know. Am I wrong? Like, isn't that just a Southern thing or like mostly a Southern thing? I'm not saying people besides the South don't use cast iron, but I think it's a more well-known thing in the South. Anyway, go Google it or YouTube it so you know how to season your cast iron skillet. But when it's seasoned properly, it can naturally be nonstick, and an added benefit, it even gives you a little extra iron to your meals. And I have had fellow FDN practitioners, colleagues who recommend this to their clients when there's like an iron issue, and it really does do that. Stainless steel is another option. It's very durable, and if you don't want the cast iron, or if it's too much trouble or whatever, stainless steel is another great option. So you can look for brands like Lodge for an affordable cast iron option. All Clad, which is a pretty well-known brand, has a lot of stainless steel cookware, and there's a lot of stainless steel cookware out there now. Like there's some really expensive brands that you can look for clean cookware, but there's also some like mainstream brands a lot of times are making the stainless steel. Now you just want to, do your due diligence and make sure you're looking at, all the materials and all of that. But Lodge for cast iron is great. All Clad for stainless steel is a good brand. Okay, number 2, we're talking about your containers, right? So you're ditching plastic for glass. That's the easiest switch. We made this switch in my house a while back. I will say there are a few stragglers because my husband will not give up this handful of these those little meal prep containers, and I'm like, they have others available. So anyway, I got rid of all of them, and then all of a sudden I look in the cabinet. I'm like, wait, why? Where did these come from? I didn't buy these. So anyway, we have a few stragglers at our house, but the glass, it really is an easy switch. And this is something, again, you can do over time. So if you have cabinets full of plastic containers and Tupperware and all that, just do a little bit at a time, right? Start with a couple sets. Like you can go on Amazon and find great little containers with the little snappy lids, right? They're super easy storage and really for really inexpensive. That's where I think I've gotten most of mine just doing that. But they're not toxic, they're reusable, they're safe for reheating. You don't have to worry about any of that. Mason jars are another inexpensive option, right? They're glass, so that's a really good option and very cheap. I mean, you can get a whole thing of those at any store or like superstore for super cheap. Brands like Pyrex or WEC are great additions or great options, for glass food storage. So getting you good set of Pyrex dishes is always a plus. Okay. Next, we're looking at aluminum foil. And I mentioned this a second ago, but I just want to reiterate, got ahead of myself on the swaps, but switching aluminum foil with parchment paper, right? So baking, roasting, whatever you're cooking in the oven that you would normally use aluminum foil, parchment paper is a great alternative. And for covering dishes, just either finding some with lids, right? Or trying they have like beeswax wraps now, and you can do that. Or if you're going to use aluminum foil, like to cover things up after you've cooked things, let stuff cool all the way down, right? Let it cool all the way down and then put it on. So you just don't want the aluminum to come into contact with heat because that's when it's going to leach out into your food, right? Okay, so now switching from BPA free, or switching from BPA. So, like the canned foods is what I'm talking about here. So you could switch from either choose BPA free or you can choose fresh or frozen, right? We're switching out canned goods is the point here. So you can opt for fresh or frozen vegetables or beans instead of the can. That's another great alternative. Or like I said, looking for the BPA-free linings, looking for the ones that come in the little like cardboard container thingies, little, I'm talking about. You like snip the top off. Glass containers. There's that brand Eden. Eden Foods is a really great brand that they have really good safe linings. There's other brands out there too. Like I would say, generally speaking, if you're looking at the organic options, most of the time they're going to be more mindful about their packaging. So I can't say that that's true for every brand all the time for organic, but that's typically a safe bet that they're more mindful about their packaging. So keep that in mind. And then if not, go for frozen or fresh instead. If you're looking, and I will say, I feel like telling you that fresh is another option is kind of like, it because if you're buying canned, you're going for convenience, right? So if you're going to go for convenience, the next convenient option would be frozen. It wouldn't be fresh, right? So I would say, like, if you're looking for convenience and that's why you're choosing the canned food, then go for the frozen as the alternative. Okay, so the fifth one here, we're talking about kitchen utensils. So we're upgrading your kitchen utensils. You want to switch out like plastic spatulas, plastic spoons for wooden. Wooden spoons are a great option. Wooden spoons are such an easy switch and they're so inexpensive, right? Wooden, stainless steel, or there's the really high quality silicone options. You want to look for utensils labeled specifically 100% food grade silicone without fillers. And there are lots of really good brands out there. And you can say the same with a lot of other like pans and like muffin tins and pans. And even if you have like nonstick cooking sheets or whatever baking sheets that you're using, you can get those little liners. You just want to look for the 100% food grade silicone without the fillers, and it'll say that on there. So you'll look for that. Lastly, we're talking about bakeware. Okay. So investing in safe bakeware. Now, you want to replace your nonstick bakeware, right? Whatever you're using that's nonstick with glass, stainless steel, or ceramic. Now, I do want to make a note here because if I'm going to recommend anything, glass and stainless steel are going to be my first recommendation. Ceramic is not terrible. I'm not saying it's bad, but with the ceramic, there's still the chance for you to leach out heavy metals into your food. Uranium is one. There's a couple heavy metals that can still leach out. Again, I'm not saying it to never use it because we use ceramic bowls all the time, but just being mindful that you're not using them all the time. You're not like reheating stuff in them all the time. You can look for companies like Green Pan. Green Pan is a great company that makes non-toxin or toxin-free bakeware that's non-stick. That's a really great one to use. But again, with the glass, like if you got a good set of Pyrex dishes, like you're pretty set. So I feel like the glass is always the best way to go. They're the safest way to go. Okay, so now that I've given you all these swaps and all the things, let's talk about why it matters. Why does it matter? What are these toxins actually doing to our body? Why should you even care? So the fact is, there are so many studies out there now, and it's crazy, right? It's crazy because it's the same with all the crap that's in the food, at least here in America. If you live in Europe and you're listening, props to y'all because y'all have outlawed a lot of the things that are still allowed to be put in our food. But it's like the stuff that's still put in food. Like we know the studies are showing there's all these things that are causing issues in the body, but they're still being put in our food. It's the same with the toxins in all of these, like your cookware and your bakeware and stuff. Like we know the science behind all these things. There are multiple studies now to link BPA and BPS and PFOAs to all of these different things, but they're still being put in. It's unfortunate. So I do think, and this is why I want to make note of the why, because I think it's important that we really understand. Again, it's the empowering information. You want to be empowered with the information to know what exactly are these toxins doing to our bodies. And you can do with the information if you want. If you don't care and you're like, who cares? I'm just going to run with it, then go for it. But at least you have the information, right? So first, hormone disruption is the first big one. And this is one we hear about the most with BPAs and PFOAs. The PFOAs, remember, or the stuff that's in the nonstick cookware, right? That kind of like layer on top to make it nonstick. So the BPA, BPS, PFOAs, all of those are considered hormone disruptors, which means that they can mimic estrogen in the body, lead to hormone imbalances that can affect fertility, weight, mood, your periods, all the hormonal things. Okay. And this has been proven over and over again how much this really does affect things, because we can see, and I can see firsthand when my clients make switches and they make changes with things like their personal care products and things in their kitchen, we can see things start to shift, right? It really does make a difference. The second thing, neurological damage. Heavy metals like aluminum, especially, you can go look up so many studies on aluminum, can lead to an accumulation in the brain. That's where it's stored. It's stored in the liver and the brain, potentially contributing to cognitive decline, memory issues, and conditions like Alzheimer's. So we know that heavy metals, specifically aluminum, have this effect on the brain. We know that. And we know that Alzheimer's specifically is linked to higher levels of aluminum in the brain. So we know this. This is something that we can actually do something about, right? The third thing is liver and kidney stress. Your liver and kidneys are responsible for detoxing all of these chemicals that we're exposed to, right? But constant exposure can overburden both of these detox organs. And it leads to, chronic fatigue, hormonal issues. It leads to a ton of chronic symptoms because your liver and kidneys have so much other detoxing they have to do. Your liver has so much to do with the different hormones that your body's producing. So it really is just like kind of this cascade effect when it's affecting your liver and your kidneys. And so, like, yes, the argument can be made from conventional medicine, like, oh, we don't need to help our body detox because that's what our liver and our kidneys do. But when we're asking our body to detox so much all the time, every day in, day out, all the time, yes, it's going to overburden these organs. They're going to need some help. And that's the whole thing at the beginning. I was saying that this information for you is all about understanding how to lower your toxic burden, lower your toxic exposure. It's lowering that burden so your kidneys and your liver don't have as much work to do. That's how we optimize function, right? The last thing I want to mention is your immune system. Over time, the exposure to these toxins can weaken your immune system, and it just makes it harder for your body to fight off illness and inflammation. And this leads to basically all the other things we were just talking about with your hormones and what's happening to your liver and your kidneys, right? A weakened immune system leaves you susceptible to a lot of things. And again, like I said, it's making it harder for your body to fight off illness. It's making it harder for it to fight off inflammation. And for women especially, just because we're already more prone to things like autoimmune disorders, we have to be mindful of these things. So the good news is, this is not all gloom and doom. The good news is that reducing your exposure, even in small ways, like these ways I just mentioned, like none of these are huge radical changes. Like you go buy some glass containers and you get rid of your aluminum foil. Like just that, it's so simple, right? When I say it like that, it's so simple, but it really does make a difference. It makes your kitchen a healthier space. It makes your kitchen a safer space. And it really is doing a number on you lowering that toxic burden on your body, which just allows your body to function in a totally different way. So remember, you can start small. Like this is not about like, let's overhaul the entire kitchen unless you want to. Again, go for it. Like do that. But if not, just start small. Like replace one nonstick pan. Switch to your glass storage containers and get rid of your Tupperware, right? You can buy a whole set of them on Amazon for like 20 or 30 bucks. I'm not kidding. Like they're really inexpensive. Ditch the plastic spatula. Over time, these changes really do add up. So it really is taking that one little step at a time, helping your body out by just these little simple changes. And I want to challenge you that if you're not in the mood to be super productive in terms of making changes in 2024, like let this be a project in January, right? If you're like, okay, let's kick off the new year, what do I do? Like, and that's why I'm including this in this series of episodes that I'm doing to prep for 2025, because I want you to have these tools. And these first few episodes, a couple, 2, 3, however many it is, focusing on like your physical health, like nutrition and wellness. These pieces are just easy things, simple things for you to do to set yourself up for massive changes for the rest of the year. Because I'm not kidding. Like I'm not over exaggerating when I say even just these small changes of things you're doing in your kitchen, like I just talked about, getting rid of aluminum foil and buying your glass containers, they really can make huge shifts in your health. So I wanted to include these in this series so that you can have some tangible things for you to take into the new year to make some shifts, make some changes. And I like these simple things too, because it makes you feel good about yourself, like without that much effort. Like you can feel really good about like, hey, I'm doing something really healthy for me and my family. And it's not like, you're not having to like go vegan, right? It's like super simple. So I think that these really simple, affordable swaps are something you can really take with you into 2025. I'd love to know your thoughts and how easy or hard it is for you to implement these. And I'm excited to bring you the next episode in this series as we're prepping for 2025 and setting ourselves up for the best year yet. See you in the next one.
Thanks for listening to Hopeful and Wholesome, y'all. If you found value in this week's episode, please subscribe on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcast and leave a review to let me know what you thought. I'd love to know what you find useful in these episodes so I can know how to provide the most value I can to my listeners. And if you have topics you'd like to know more about, I'd love to hear those as well. So shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. It's @TheHopePedraza, or you can visit my website, hopefulandwholesome.com. Thanks, y'all.